Sweet. Most smart lock reviews happen in a studio. Clean door, perfect setup, but that's not real life. I'm going to install this in a customer's home, leave it there for a few weeks, and come back and try to answer just one question. Would you actually keep this on your door? Hey, I'm Robert, and Oconee Smart Homes exists to make real homes more convenient, accessible, and safe with smart home technology. We serve real customers right here in Oconee County, Georgia, but this channel is for anyone who wants to make a simpler, smarter home. Thanks to Deslock for sponsoring today's video. More importantly, this video includes feedback from a real homeowner after living with this device. As always, my content is completely independent, and Deslock has not had the chance to review anything that you're about to see. If you're curious about how we handle collaborations, our full collaboration policy is linked below. So today we're looking at the Desloc K120 Smart Lock. But this isn't just a review. It's not even going on my house. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what I think, but about what it's like to live with. We're gonna get ready to pack this thing up and go and install it at the customer's house. So before we install it there, I did wanna check it out here to make sure that I knew what I was paying attention to. First, reliability. Does it work every time? Second, ease of use. Not for me, but an average homeowner who doesn't care about the technology, just the end results. Third, how you actually get into the door. Keypad, key, fingerprint, and app. And finally, the stuff that nobody talks about, the little annoyances that show up a week or two after use, because those are the things that make or break the experience with a device like this. So here are some of the things that stood out to me from the start. It can go in place of any standard deadbolt, which means that the installation is relatively easy. It comes with a built-in door sensor that knows if the door is open or closed. And finally, Deslock puts a focus on both short-term and long-term rentals with a piece of their software called Landlord Mode. So this is ideal for somebody who's managing VRBOs, Airbnbs, or even multiple rental properties. I've used and tested a lot of smart locks, and I could easily tell you which ones are my favorite. So I'm interested to see how this stacks up. Here's what I think this one will do well. First, I think that it's gonna be really reliable when it comes to fingerprint unlocking. Second is the battery life. It has a large rechargeable lithium-ion battery that Deslock claims lasts 13 months. Now, we won't have a way to verify that, but we will check the battery status after a few weeks to see how well it's doing. So I think this could be a great fit for families with kids to give them access to lock and unlock the door without worrying about passcodes or secondary devices. Now, I'm unsure about how this is going to fit into a larger smart home ecosystem. This is going into a home that's primarily Android-based, running on a Google Home ecosystem. So I'm curious to see how this fits into their normal routines and automations. Let's hit the road and get this thing installed. All right, now we're at the customer's house, and this is where things get real. It's no longer theory, because installs are where you find out, is this really that simple? Are there any red flags in the long term? This is a Google Home household, and for them, it's really about peace of mind. 2 kids, both parents work in healthcare, and the husband travels a lot. So knowing who's coming and going matters. We're putting this on the garage entry, which, if you're not in the South, is basically the front door here. Don't ask me why. Now, if you haven't heard of Deslock before, that's okay. But they have actually been around for quite a while, over 15 years, and they say that they have locks installed in over 10 million homes globally, so they're no small player. Their focus has been on biometric R&D and durability, which makes sense once you start to get a look at this lock. Right now, they support Alexa and Google Home, so if you're using something like Apple HomeKit or another ecosystem, they might not be on your radar yet. They are working on Matter support though, and that should open things up quite a bit when they have a model that supports it. So it's definitely an area to pause and pay attention to. So let's talk battery life, because this is often where marketing and reality drift apart, and battery can be one of the biggest frictions to using a smart lock. So this battery, it's 15,000 milliamp hours, and it's supposed to last 13 months.
No way.
So it's USB-C chargeable.
Sweet.
I'm just curious to see where the battery is, how quickly it depletes. This lock uses a 15,000 milliamp hour battery, and that sounds huge. It is pretty big. When you convert this, it's the equivalent of roughly 15 to 18 AA batteries. Still a lot. So when you break that down, those 13 months assumes light usage, ideal conditions, and a very efficient standby system. It can last 13 months the same way that your car is rated for 40 miles per gallon under ideal conditions. So things like temperature or friction on the door that causes the motor to work harder can reduce that, i.e. your mileage may vary. In comparison, my Schlage Code Plus runs on 4 AA batteries and uses a very power-efficient protocol with thread and still only lasts 6 to 8 months. So if a smart lock battery could get over 10 months or close to a year, I would still call that a major win. Let's say that for some reason the battery does drain, you didn't see the alert or charge it in time. It has here on the outside of the lock, let's see how I can pull this down. This is cool.
A battery pack for quick charge.
You can just plug it right into an external battery pack, enough to unlock the door and get in. One feature I wanted to like is the built-in door sensor. The contact is supposed to go on the door frame, and then the lock itself detects whether the door is open or closed. So you're not just locking it blindly. But on this install, it wouldn't actually fit. There wasn't enough clearance to close the door. The other thing about this is that the contact sensor is not exposed down through Google Home, so this feature is only usable inside the Deslock app and not for wider automations. Okay, fingerprint time. The fingerprint reader has been something that I've been pretty impressed with. It's fast and reliable and works on the first try most of the time. Now compare this to other smart locks that I use like Aqara, which require often placing my finger multiple times or even re-adding it over time. This has been much more reliable. It's not just taking a flat picture of your fingerprint. It uses a sensor combined with a GPT-enabled algorithm to map the unique ridges and valleys of your print. And it's specifically engineered to handle wet, faint, or worn fingerprints, which would trip up a conventional sensor. And over time, it should get better at recognizing you with local self-learning. Every time you unlock it, it's essentially refining the stored template. So even if your hands are wet, dirty, or even just a little different day to day, it still recognizes you. And from a privacy standpoint, this is important. The fingerprint data stays on the lock itself, processed locally, never sent to the cloud, which is exactly what you want to see in a product like this. Okay, lock the living room door. You also have a physical key cylinder here, which is still important for a lot of homes. Even with smart locks, having a reliable backup matters, especially for your main entry. And this is keyed in the style of a Schlage key, and it can be rekeyed to match the rest of your house if that's what you decide you need. So I'm back. The installation was pretty straightforward, just swapping the existing deadbolt for the new one. No major modifications, though there are some things to watch out for on any install like this. One of those things is the alignment of the door, making sure that the door closes easily and that the deadbolt is able to turn and lock smoothly. Then there's the app and ecosystem setup. Adding the device to the network and getting it into Deslock's app was straightforward. Inside Deslock's app, we add the users and their fingerprints, and you can control settings like the auto lock function. From there, we added it into their Google Home ecosystem, where they're able to set up schedules and automations and use the Google Voice Assistant to lock and unlock the door. And all of that worked well, except for Google's one-tap unlocking. Naturally, there's a difference between locking the door and unlocking the door. Unlocking the door is a secure action, and it requires a PIN. Now, putting the PIN in is no problem, except for the fact that for some reason, Google Home didn't want to save that PIN and continued to give errors. Do you have a separate, Google PIN? No?
Maybe I have your own PIN.
We are currently working with Deslock support to figure this out, to see if there's a resolution. And when I come back in a few weeks to do the customer's feedback review, I will share if we got that fixed. But schedules to lock the door automatically at night or when somebody leaves, using automations to turn on lights when the door unlocks, and even using Google Voice to lock the door works fine. So the only challenge is the unlocking through the Google Assistant. So here's the update on the Google PIN situation. Kudos to Deslock support for being responsive and helpful. The PIN code in question here is not associated with the lock or its users, but a Google Home PIN that was set by the user at some point in the past when they had their home security system tied in with Google Home. But they were able to find the PIN, enter it, save it, and now everything works as expected. Now with the install complete, I've stepped away. No coaching or tweaking. I want to let them use it and provide their real feedback. So after living with this lock for over a month, I came back and asked them a few simple questions. And one thing stood out right away. They said, "We are really enjoying this smart lock. The ability to create scheduled automation and identify who unlocked the door is really neat. They're actually using the unlock notifications to know when the kids get home from school, which is a really underrated benefit. And when it comes to how they're actually unlocking the door, the whole family mostly uses the fingerprint to unlock. Very convenient. No more keys, and not really even dealing with pins. As far as issues or friction, the only issue is figuring out the default Google security pin for the smart lock. Other than that, no issues at all. And we were able to sort that out with the help of Deslock support. On the Google Home side, I found it easier to use voice commands to unlock the door. Very responsive. We created a scheduled automation for it to be locked daily at 11 p.m. I've noticed that it locks around 3 to 5 minutes past 11 each night. That's interesting. We'll come back to that. What's the current battery percentage? 86%. Let's quickly look at the numbers. When it was first installed, the battery was fully charged at 100%. And now 5 weeks later, it's at 86%. That's roughly 2.8% a week. However, lithium-ion batteries do not drain linearly. There's usually an early drop that stabilizes over time. But this does indicate that this is a moderate to high usage household, and I would expect realistically this battery to last between 9 to 12 months. And when it comes to trusting it, yes, we want to invest in additional smart locks for our house. And finally, the question that really matters, will you keep this lock on your door? Yes. Now, if you're still with me at this point in the video, would you do me a favor and hit that thumbs up and give this video a like? It matters more than you think. After hearing their experience, a few things stood out to me. Some of it matched what I expected, but a couple of things did surprise me. The fingerprint being the primary way to unlock, that makes perfect sense. It's fast, convenient, and it just works. The scheduled automations also held up. Automatically locking the door at a set time each night without having to think about it is a big win. What did surprise me is how much they are using the voice commands. Personally, I tend to rely more on automations that run in the background rather than voice interactions. But this is just one example of how different homes use this stuff differently. And interestingly, the Deslock app ended up being a total non-factor at all post-setup, as did the integrated door sensor. What looks important on paper may not always translate to how people can actually use it. I did follow up with them on the delayed automation, which ended up being more of a network-related issue, likely latency or a time sync problem, because a quick restart of their network and the Google Home Hub, and it locks consistently at 11 p.m. So this wasn't really a limitation with the lock itself, but more about the ecosystem around it. I did also introduce the idea of geo-based automations to them to be able to lock the door automatically when everybody's left the house. But the fact that this was their first smart lock and they already want to add more, that tells you everything you need to know. So who is this lock actually for? It might be a great fit for you if you're looking for something that's easy to install, you're already in the Amazon or Google ecosystems, you're looking for a lock that actually stands behind the security aspect of a lock, or if you need something that works well in a rental or shared space. But this might not be for you if you're deep into Apple Home or are looking for the latest cutting edge features like ultra wideband or Aliro support. That said, it will be interesting to see where Deslock goes if they start adding those features in the future. At the end of the day, this product isn't about having the most features, it's about working for real people and in real homes. And honestly, that's what matters the most. I really enjoy doing videos like this, working in real homes and showing you how the tech holds up over time. So if you're interested in seeing more of this, make sure that you're subscribed and stick around. And let me know in the comments, what's your biggest frustration with smart locks right now? God bless you. See you next time.